Welcome back, nerds and nerdettes. We're going to get into some Marvel Rivals. I'm going to teach you how to play every character in the game on abilities, tips and tricks, advanced tips and tricks, and some combinations that will get you through the ranked ladder and help your team win. Let's snap into it. In this video, we're going to be talking about I Am Groot. That's right, the big tree. He's one of my favorite vanguards to use. If used properly, he can be an absolute menace, and his survivability is top tier. So in this video, we're going to talk about some of his abilities, how to properly use his walls, his damage attacks, and great combinations to help sustain and destroy the enemy line. Groot's first ability is his Vine Strike. His primary attack, it's a singular projectile with a slight delay between impact. It does do 70 damage on impact. It does do a distance of 20 meters. It does not critical strike, so it's always going to be 70 damage upon strike. If a target is in your face, you are going to want to Vine Strike. Then you're going to want to melee and Vine Strike again. Just like Venom, there is almost a second in between. I think it's 0.7 on this character. So it's Vine Strike, melee, Vine Strike, melee. On his third melee, he has a very unique ability where he does a double fist slam to the ground. It pops the enemy up. So it's 70, 30, 70, 30, 50. So that combination is very close range deadly. And if you use that, mix that, and weave it in, that's a lot of people don't talk about. That third melee strike is more damage, and it's very impactful because it has a knockup. So his second ability, his second attack is a Spore Bomb. This ability sends a second projectile out. It does 55 damage on impact. The explosion sends out 6 spores. Each spore does an additional 10 damage. So if they're grouped up, it's a great attack just to do multiple damages spread across. You are not going to just throw this out willy-nilly for no reason. You're going to want to use this in good combination or at good times to maximize its damage. The only time you'll ever throw this out in a single item is if something's running away and it's low health and you can hit it with your bomb or a couple spores to kill it. That's a very niche situation. You have to be very accurate with that because it has to hit them upon their run or arrival. Now, the bread and butter of Groot's kit are his walls. This is where I see a lot of Groot players fail dramatically. Each wall has a certain ability, but it has to be activated, and you have to be within an activation field for them to be utilized properly. I'm going to start with his Iron Wall. This is Groot's sustainability. In Groot, when he puts out a wall, you'll see a little green circle here, and I'll show you on the screen in the practice arena. This little edging, once it's in the wall's ring, which is a 20-meter around Groot radius, when you walk into that wall, you will see the wall get triggered. That means it's targeted, it's activated. So once it's targeted, the effect of that wall will be in a play. The Iron Wall has a shorter distance, but we're going to go over that in a moment. So his iron wood wall opposed to his thorn thrash wall. That's the attack one. The iron wood wall is his health. This gives you an extra 40 health per second up to 250 health. The wall itself has 700 HP. I see a lot of people use this to block off transports, to block off doors or walls. You don't want this wall to get destroyed. You don't want this wall to fall. This wall, if you put this on the side of a building, inside of a doorway, behind a wall, they're not going to target it. If it's out of way, it's basically out of line, out of sight in their eyes. If you put this on certain maps in certain areas, a little higher, a little lower, but it's not hindering the team, no one's attacking this wall. If you do this, you will sustain your longer health and your longer heals. This range and this cooldown is 8 seconds. So if you take this wall off yourself or somebody destroys you, you're going to wait 8 seconds before putting another one up. This is where I see a lot of people use this wall incorrectly. They throw it up to try to block an area of arrival. There's so many movement abilities from these characters in this game. It does help in certain areas, and you can utilize that along with your health. But I'm telling you now, that's the incorrect way to use this wall. Put it against something. Keep it alive as long as possible. A good Wolverine will attack this wall to build up his rage meter so he can have a higher attack when he attacks you or anybody else. So that's the only character that should be truly targeting this wall for a benefit on their side outside of taking it away from you. But most characters aren't going to spend their attacks and abilities and time destroying this wall with 700 HP when they could be attacking you. So you'll see people just ignore it. So maximize that to maximize Groot's ability, 1. 2, his second wall, the Thorn Lash Wall. This is where you're going to get your massive DPS difference between a standard Groot and a maximized Groot. The wall does 60 damage. You can have 3 walls done at a time. The Thorn Lash Wall does have 2 charges available. You will have to wait 6 seconds for the third charge to put a third wall up. These can be angled, so you can put them on something to climb up. You can put them above doorways. You can put them on the side. You can put them in the middle. If a target's chasing you, you can put it behind the target. So when you fight the target, the lash wall is going to hit the target for 60. You're going to be hitting it for your 70 vine or your melees. This is when your spore comes into play. If you have a thorn lash wall, you throw a spore down to hit them, and you're doing your vine strike. You're getting multiple attacks from multiple angles. Any melee character trying to dive you is going to have a rough time if you put these down properly. If you put down 2 thorn lash, you throw your spores, and you stay around and fight around those lash walls. Don't run away from them. All that extra damage is going to attack your target. They do have 250 health, so they're easy to take down. But once again, they have to target those opposed to targeting you while you're still fighting. So use this wall appropriately in melee fights, or put them near an area you are fighting to get that extra DPS damage. That will take you a step above and get you those MVPs. So as we talked about earlier, his passive is that floral collusion. So once you are within that range, that 20-meter range, you will see the activation circle, which I showed earlier. So that's what's going to trigger your walls to work. You can take your walls down. So if your walls are up and they are attacking and you want to move them, maybe you're doing a transport or something, you could take them down early, especially if you want to fight. Pop that cooldown early and move them with you. His ultimate ability, Strangling Prison, is a great ability to use if used properly. It's a massive impact, especially if you are communicating with your team. If you have a Hela, a Hawkeye, or somebody that has a massive ranged attack, because what it's going to do is it's going to grab every target within an 8-meter spear. It's going to pull them towards the center. Now, it does 70 impact damage, but it does 20 damage for every 0.5 seconds that it's grabbed. So that stuns them for 3.5 seconds. So you're doing 20 damage for every 0.5 seconds for 3.5 seconds, and the initial 70 damage upon pulling them in. Plus, when they were in that stun area, outside of a couple abilities that can get them out or keep them from getting grabbed, they're going to be locked in. So your Hellas and your Hawkeyes are going to have 3.5 seconds for a perfect headshot, so they have time to line up their shots and do massive damage. If you coordinate this properly with that Strangling Prison, you can wipe out pretty much a whole team. A Doctor Strange can use his ability within that 3.5 seconds, start prepping it up. Scarlet Witch can get her ability going. So if you plan this, you can just annihilate everybody. So it's really, really good to use with a coordinated team, and it will not be something they can ever prevent for the most part unless they're prepped that it's coming. So that's the proper way how to use Groot. The walls are very important. His combinations are important. Using his spore along with his wall combination is going to be high damage. Use that health boost from his ironwood wall. Make sure you put in an area they can't attack, as you can see in the video here. The only time that wall ever goes down is when I take it down to move it, or if I hit the wrong button and I take it down by accident, which I've done twice. Outside of that, it's an amazing sustainable character. He is an amazing front line. High damage blocked, high damage received. People are going to have to put a lot of focus on him, especially if he's near his walls, to take him out. He's not your backline tank. He's your frontline traditional bruiser tank that you're going to want to follow and use properly. I hope the video helped you. If it did, drop a like, subscribe, turn those notifications on. I'm going to link the other videos I did in the card here if you want to go back and watch some of those. Until then, we'll catch you in the next one.